Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to Gamerjoob, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, we're going to be going into the part 2 to our Catnap finale for our Smiling Critters chapter. So we're going to go into the ending of this chapter and see what happens to our main protagonist and Catnap. But before we get into any of that, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe to Gamerjoob as it helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. It also keeps you up to date with all the videos that we post. And lastly, I will just state that this is not definitive of what's going to happen in chapter 3. This is just a fun, made up story, so keep that in mind and enjoy the video. Alrighty, well with that all out of the way, let's get into the finale of our Smiling Critters chapter with Catnap Part 2. So previously in our Poppy Playtime character concept series, our main protagonist fell victim to Catnap's deadly sleeping gas. They found themselves trapped in a nightmare they couldn't wake up from. Multiple times throughout, a dream version of Catnap would try to attack them again and again. At the last second, Catnap was interrupted, and the player was woken up and pulled out of the nightmare. It turns out that the player was saved by Dog Day. Dog Day knows where the real Catnap is and he needs the player's help to end this for good. So he hands the player their gas mask and they head out to find Catnap. Dog Day explains that there's only one place he'd be, and that was the recall and defect area. This was where all the recalled Catnap toys were stored, and the real Catnap always stayed close to them. Dog Day explains that all the other critters won't be joining them. He just turned them all back and he can't risk them falling under Catnap's control once again. But seeing how Dog Day has the ability to break Catnap's nightmare gas, he should be fine. Eventually the player and Dog Day arrive at the recall center. This place was filled with the red sleeping gas, but there was no way that Catnap could constantly produce this much of the stuff. When the gas clears, they can see what's causing it. Multiple Catnap toys are dispensing the gas into the air vents. So this is how it was spreading all throughout the factory. With this much gas in one room, Dog Day can't enter. Although he can't be corrupted, it doesn't mean he won't fall asleep. But luckily the player is wearing their gas mask. So it's up to the player to stop all the Catnap toys and turn them off. One by one, they pick up a toy and remove the tainted lavender scent cans. Without these recalled spray scent cans, they would shut off and stop producing the sleep gas. Eventually, the player removes the sleep spray from each and every Catnap toy. The room is finally clear and the player signals Dog Day to enter the room. Now, all they have to do is find Catnap. Out of the corner of their eye, the player sees a long purple tail hanging from the ceiling. All of a sudden, Catnap drops down from the ceiling and grabs Dog Day. Finally, the player sees with their own eyes that this is the real Catnap. This is no longer a bad dream, and now Catnap and Dog Day are face to face. He's furious at Dog Day for ruining his plans. When Catnap transformed all the other critters into nightmarish creatures, he was a part of the group again. No one forgot about him, and he could control them to always be by his side. But now that they're back to normal, they fear Catnap once again, just like everyone else does. But he plans to eliminate Dog Day for good this time. Without him in the picture, there would be no stopping Catnap's plans. As Catnap stands there with Dog Day in his hands, the player tries to intervene. Catnap quickly whips the player with his long tail and forces them back. The force from his tail breaks the player's gas mask and now it's useless. In the brief seconds that Catnap was distracted with the player, Dog Day finally uses his daylight ability. He shines his light and engulfs Catnap in its bright glow. But nothing happened. He does it again, and still nothing. Dog Day then realizes the horrible truth. The truth is that Catnap isn't corrupted. This is who he is. Who he's always been. Catnap is nothing more than an evil, selfish creature that only cares about himself. He then breathes out a large amount of red sleeping gas directly in Dog Day's face. He falls asleep and drops to the ground. Catnap now turns his attention to the player. Without their gas mask, they were helpless, but luckily enough, it seems that Catnap has run out of the sleeping gas. He must have used it all to put Dog Day to sleep. The player didn't realise that Catnap can actually run out of gas. He must have to replenish it in some other way. But that doesn't mean Catnap won't tear them to shreds with his sharp claws. They need to make a run for it or else that's exactly what will happen. So the player frantically runs away from Catnap as he chases them down. They need to think quickly and choose the best way to get out of here. The player locates a door and rushes inside. They look at behind them just as Catnap reaches it. Catnap tries to open the door, but it's locked tight. The player was safe for now, but there was only one doorway in this area, and the player couldn't stay here forever. Soon enough, they would have to face Catnap all on their own. But what area exactly is the player in? It turns out that this is where they develop the scents for all the smiling critters, including the defective lavender scent that Catnap used to put everyone to sleep. So this is how Catnap would replenish the sleeping gas inside of his body. In this area, they would package all the scents and load them into pressurized canisters. But this wasn't just the scents they produced, they also made oxygen and flammable propellant canisters as well. These were probably used elsewhere in the factory for other applications. Just outside the door, Catnap is still trying to break his way in. The player is quickly running out of time, and they need to figure out a plan and quick. Whilst looking around this area, they find something very interesting. It was a canister of the new and improved lavender scent. It seems that the researchers perfected and fixed the problem, but it seems like Catnap didn't want to be cured. He instead kept using the defective spray instead of the new ones. He eventually disposed of all the new and improved lavender canisters, but it seems he missed one. He planned to keep using all the nightmare-inducing ones instead, but there was a limited supply. There was only one pallet left of the defective spray. This gave the player an idea. Their time was running out, but they had a plan. Finally, Catnap breaks the door down and rushes over to the player. Catnap stares in horror as he sees what the player is doing. They just disposed of all his remaining supply of defective nightmare gas canisters. They loaded them in the disposal chute and they were destroyed and gone forever. Catnap is furious at the player. He is going to put them into the deepest nightmare that he possibly can. But since he's run out of sleeping gas and his supply was gone, that wasn't going to happen. Just as Catnap approached the player, he spotted two spare canisters on the ground. One was the new and improved, and the other was the old formula. Catnap grabs the nightmare lavender and goes to replace it. He unzips his body and throws out the empty one. Once he loads this in, the player will be shrouded in red sleeping gas and fall into another nightmare. And then Catnap will finally have no one to stop him. But this all seems a little too easy. A sudden wave of suspicion comes over Catnap, and then he finally figures it out. He peels off the label, and what's underneath is the new and improved formula. He is seen right through the player's plan. They planned on him loading the mislabeled canister and instead using the new formula. And in using this new scent, it would have cured him. But Catnap is far too smart and cunning for the old switcheroo trick. He tosses the canister away and picks up the one labelled new and improved. He peels off the label, and as he suspected, it was the real nightmare gas underneath. Catnap is impressed that the player would try and pull such a clever trick, but in the end, they have failed and it's about to all be over. He loads in the canister and gets ready to sink the player into a horrible nightmare that they will never wake up from. Catnap goes to breathe out a large cloud, but something is wrong. Instead, something strange starts pouring out of his mouth. What was this stuff? Little did Catnap know, the player made one more switch. This wasn't the nightmare gas. It was in fact the flammable propellant. The player quickly charges up their green grab hand and launches it straight at the gas. The electrified hand ignites the gas and flames start shooting out of Catnap's mouth. Before the panicked Catnap charges towards the player, he inhales and the fire reaches the can inside his body. And then, all of a sudden, Catnap was no more. Finally, the player has done it. They've defeated this evil critter and survived in the end. Finally, it was all over. The player can go wake up Dog Day and get out of here for good. They grab the new and improved can and make their way over to him. It seems that he's still fast asleep. It'll be several hours before he eventually wakes up, but with the help of the new gas, he was able to wake up much sooner. The player tells Dog Day that it's all over. Catnap won't be bothering him and his friends anymore. Dog Day can't thank the player enough. He was truly happy and all was well. Dog Day leads the player to a safe exit and they both say their goodbyes. He couldn't have done any of this without the player. It was thanks to them that all the smiling critters can now live in peace. The player sets out on their way and continues their journey through the Playtime Co factory. Hopefully this is the end of the vengeful toys that are out to get them. But if this place has taught them anything, it's that there's always a new foe around every corner. The player has come this far and they've taken on some of the worst toys the factory has to offer. But as to what next horrible toy creature the player will encounter is uncertain. But the player will be ready, that's for sure. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribing. It helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the ending, what you want to see next, and what you think is going to happen in Chapter 3. So I'm super excited for Chapter 3 to finally release, and hopefully we get a trailer sometime soon. I for one am pretty excited to also see what's going to happen in this trailer, and I can't wait to see what they reveal. But until Chapter 3 releases, we'll just have to wait and see. But until then, I'll catch you later. Bye.